Have you ever wondered why some players seem to progress so much faster than others, even when they're making the same amount of gold? Picture this. Two players both grind out their first 10 million GP. One buys full bandos immediately. The other player invests strategically. 6 months later, the first player is still grinding out mid-game content in his bandos. The second player, they're running endgame content with a very healthy bank value. The first player is wondering how he got there so fast. Here's the thing. Making money in old school RuneScape really isn't that hard anymore. At least nowhere near as hard as it used to be. But spending it correctly, that's where most players completely mess up. Because when you're sitting on your first million, or your first 10 million, or even your first 100 million, the choices you make will either accelerate your account's progress, or leave you spinning your wheels. You might hear people say just buy best in slot gear, or max your combat first, or get the quest cape before anything else. But the truth is a bit more nuanced, because the best investment at 5 million GP is completely different from the best investment at 50 million. Therefore, it may help to have some sort of roadmap. And once you understand this roadmap, you'll realize why you've been wasting money. So you scrape together your first million GP doing whatever moneymaker you had available. The question is, what do you actually do with it? Here's what most players do wrong. They immediately start browsing expensive gear. Should I save for a whip? Should I get dragon boots? What about a fury? Some people may say that the first million should go straight into gear, but I would personally say that your first million should be split strategically. You need basic functional gear. Nothing too crazy, but something good enough. Full rune armor costs around 150k. And a rune scimitar, a glory, combat bracelet, and rune boots, all of that together is like roughly 200k total. 1/5 of your budget that will carry you through early questing. Therefore, you're not broke, but you're also not wasting your money on upgrades you don't need yet. But here is when it gets interesting. Take at least 300k of that million and buy stamina potions. I know it could feel like a terrible way of spending money because you're spending it on a consumable, but walking around Gillinor in the early game is painfully slow. You don't have teleports, you don't have graceful. It can get quite frustrating pretty fast. These potions will save you literal hours. Buy 20 or 30 of them and just start grinding out quests. And once you understand that time saved is money earned, the math starts to make a bit more sense. Because the faster that you complete quests, the faster you unlock the better money makers, and the faster you actually progress. And if you're struggling to find out the prices of a particular item, today's video sponsor could really help you out. 07.gg is the best place to go for live market updates. Say for instance, I wanted to find out the price for a fang. I would search for it and filter the time so I can see how it's been moving in the past few days, few weeks, or month. There's so many features and buttons to figure out which items are best to flip right now. To get a discount on the paid version, which gives you way more features, I'll leave a link in the description below. Now here's the move that separates smart players from everyone else. Take the remaining 500k and invest it into 43 prayer. Buy roughly 100 dragon bones and head to the Chaos Ore in the wilderness. Yes, you might get PK'd here, but the savings are definitely worth it. Protection prayers in rune armor is all you need for most early game and mid game quests. Therefore, the first million you just spent unlocked probably 50 hours of content that was previously maybe a bit too difficult. To me, that's smart spending. Alright, so you've been grinding, you've done quests, and you're sitting on, let's say, 5 million GP. Now things are starting to open up, but this is where a lot of players start making very expensive mistakes. First thing, buy even more stamina potions. And I'm being completely serious, to this day I use so many stamina potions. Grab like another 50. You're gonna be running around a lot. And every second you save compounds. Therefore this isn't waste, it's investment in efficiency. Now let's talk gear upgrades that actually matter. Get a dragon skin and dragon boots as soon as you meet the requirements. These give strength bonuses that directly increase your damage output. They're not expensive, but they're essential. Some may say save for expensive upgrades, but these cheap ones provide way better value. But here's where most players go wrong at this stage. They keep dumping everything into combat gear. I wouldn't say that's the best thing to do, because the smartest investments at 5 million GP aren't gear. It's best in utility. You can get 51 magic. This unlocks all the basic teleports around Gillinor, and it will cost you about 500k even using decent training methods. And once you have those teleports, everything in the game becomes faster. Every bank run, every quest, every moneymaker all become more efficient. And then if you wanted to, you could invest 1.2 million GP into construction. Level 50 construction lets you mount a glory in your house for unlimited free teleports. And you unlock the portal chamber for city teleports. Therefore, you just bought yourself permanent convenience that will save you money forever. At this point, you should start training ranged, but don't waste money on it. Green D'hide and adamant darts at sand crabs will get you 75 range for about 8 million GP. It's dirt cheap, and 75 ranged is when the skill actually becomes more powerful. Finally, buy an abyssal whip, but only once you have the attack level for it. About 1.5 mil for one of the best weapons in the game. That's a steal. 10 million GP. This is where your account starts feeling real, but this is where players waste the most money on flashy upgrades that don't actually help them progress. You could get 75 magic. From your current 51, that's about a 3 million GP investment, but it unlocks the Trident, one of the most important weapons in the game. The Trident itself only costs around 100k, but without 75 magic you can't use it. Therefore the skill level is an actual investment. You can buy full Bloodbark armor for around 500k. This is one of the few cheap armor sets that gives magic damage percentage bonus. Therefore for mid-game magic, nothing comes close to its value. Now we're going to make our most expensive purchase yet. A Berserker ring for 4.2 mil. At this point in your account that may seem like a lot, but it gives a +8 strength bonus, which usually translates to 2 max hits with melee. Therefore this one item increases your damage output more than most armor upgrades combined. Finally upgrade your range setup to full blessed D'hide for about 1.6 mil. This will be your ranged armor for a long time. So getting it now saves from incremental upgrades later. And just like that, your 10 million GP is gone. But your account is now equipped to handle serious content. You've got solid setups for all 3 combat styles, and you didn't waste money on marginally better armor pieces that wouldn't actually improve your performance. 20 million GP represents a turning point, because now you can afford weapons that fundamentally change how you play the game. But before we talk about gear, let me address the elephant in the room. You may have heard conflicting advice about whether to invest in buyable skills, but I would say only invest in skills when you need them for quests or diaries. Otherwise the money is better spent on gear and supplies that actually generate more money. Prayer and construction are exceptions. I would say they're worth investing early. Everything else only when required. Now let's talk weapons. Buy a toxic blowpipe and a trident. Yes, they're gonna cost money per shot to use, but these weapons are so powerful they'll be your mains for the foreseeable future. Use them sparingly at first, but having them available opens up bosses you simply couldn't do before. You could also grab an occult necklace. Super cheap but gives you 10% magic damage, making it essential for any magic combat. And here's where things get a little spicy. The Osmantan Fang has crashed. People may say it's too expensive for this stage, but I really think you should buy it now. This weapon is insane at so many bosses. Vorkarth, God Wars, the Colosseum and even raids. Therefore this single purchase will accelerate your money making ability more than anything else you could buy. Finally, if you're doing Slayer, get a black mask. This is one of the most powerful upgrades in the game. The damage and accuracy bonuses are massive. And once you understand that weapons matter way more than armor, you realize why we've spent almost nothing on actual armor pieces. 50 million GP. I would say you're somewhat mid-game wealthy, but this is where spending gets tricky, because expensive doesn't always mean better. You could definitely have done this earlier, but now you should definitely buy a Fury. And here's something interesting. The Blood Moon armor costs way less than Bando's, but offers very similar strength bonuses. Plus the full set unlocks incredible training methods at the Perilous Moons. Therefore you're buying gear that doubles as a training method. Don't listen to that guy that's just telling you to buy Bando's. The full set costs more than 40 million GP for marginally better stats. The Blood Moon set is smarter spending at this stage. Now for the big investments. Get 74 Prayer. This cost around 12 million in Dragon Bones, but it's preparation for something crucial, because at this level you can unlock Rigor and Piety, 2 of the most powerful upgrades in the entire game. When you can, buy a Dexterous Prayer Scroll. This gets you Rigor. Get an Arcane Scroll for 2 million to unlock Augury. These prayers multiply your effectiveness in combat, more than almost any gear upgrade could. Finally pick up a Tormented Bracelet. This is preparation for heavy magic training. 100 million GP. This is where you transition from a mid-game to, I guess, a late-game player, but the spending strategy changes completely here. Some people may say max your combat stats first, or buy best in slot gear, but the truth is you should do both strategically, and there's an optimal order. I'd say get your ranged and magic to 90. Not 99 yet, but just 90. You could do red chins, which is about 30 million GP from level 75, and you could also use bursting methods, which is about 18 million for magic. Therefore, around 50 mil of your budget goes to pure combat effectiveness. And you might think, why 90 and not 99? But that's because 90 unlocks all the important max hits and thresholds. The last 9 levels give minimal returns, and you'll get those passively through bossing anyway. Now invest about 30 million into 84 construction. This unlocks everything you need in your house. All teleports, a jewelry box, and a portal nexus. The time saved from a maxed house is genuinely insane. You'll use it so many times per day for the rest of your account's life. That leaves you around, let's say, 20 million GP. You could grab an amulet of torture for 20 mil, but I would say it's a minimal upgrade over the Fury. You could also pick up a light bearer. This helps with getting your special attack faster, but this is all really up to you. And here's something pretty crucial. At this point you could grab either a dragon warhammer or a bandos godsword. A lot of bosses require you to lower their defense, and these spec weapons are essential. Which one depends on the content and what you do, but I'd say get at least one of them. And once you understand that construction and combat levels provide way more value than incremental gear upgrades, this spending priority makes perfect sense. So now let's say you're sitting on a few 100 million GP. Maybe you're approaching that first billion. The game has completely opened up, but spending decisions become harder because everything left is expensive with diminishing returns. Here's what I would invest in around the 400 mil mark. Personally, I would say a Bofa with full crystal armor makes sense. This cost around 250 mil total including corrupting the bow, but it bridges a gap between the crossbows and a twisted bow. It's incredibly versatile across a ton of content, and honestly it's one of the best value purchases in the late game. People might say save for a T-bow, but that's like 2 billion GP. The Bofa is 250 mil and it gives you like 80% of the T-bow's effectiveness. Therefore, it's actually better value. You could grab an Avernic Defender with your remaining money. Solid upgrade to strength and accuracy everywhere. Here's the reality. If you're at this point in your account, you're entering the late game territory. Everything costs hundreds of millions, with upgrades being marginal. Therefore, spending at this level becomes more about what content you specifically want to do. If you're grinding Chambers of Xeric, then maybe save up for that T-bow. If you're doing next, maybe invest in better melee gear. And if you're doing Zulrah, the Bofa or magic upgrades matter more. And once you understand that the late game is more about specialization than generalization, your spending becomes way more focused. The players who progress the fastest aren't always the ones who put in the most hours. Sometimes they're just the ones who spent their money smartest, who invested in the right things at the right time, who understood that a million GP spent correctly is worth way more than 10 million spent poorly. So before you make your next purchase, ask yourself, is this the best use of my money right now? Or will it help me unlock better content? Or am I just buying it because it looks cool? And if that is the reason and you want to do it just because, then go for it. But that question will save you hundreds of millions over your account's lifetime. Thank you for watching the video. Hit like if you enjoyed. Tap the video on screen if you want to see how you can make money while being AFK. I hope you're having a good day. Until the next one, peace.